Are you sick and tired of lame-ass social media? Are you tired of turning on the TV and being bored to tears? Well, never fear. Roundtable Philosophy is here to save the day, bringing you new and interesting podcasts each and every week. Let's get the party started. So, I don't own any firearms. I've only handled guns a handful of times. I don't mind if people have guns, but I don't really know why people are really angry about gun control and I guess having their guns taken away. So let's start with Jimmy. You're a police officer, right, Jimmy?
Yes.
Let's say that I'm going to enroll in the academy and I've never handled a gun.
Okay.
Where would I start, I guess?
Joe Blow citizen like yourself, never handled guns, doesn't know the business end from the handle. What you're going to do is, in most firearm safety classes, provided they are quality firearm safety classes, before you even touch any ammunition, they're going to break the gun down Barney style for you, show you how it functions, how to take it apart, how to reassemble it, what the different parts are, how they all function together. The firearms training I went through was a week long for basic mandate. The first 2 to 3 days, we didn't even shoot the gun. It was all just unloaded weapon, like I said, how to take it apart, put it back together, and how to handle it. You know, your fundamentals of firearm safety. You don't point anything you're not willing to destroy, figure off the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. So you learn all that stuff. Then you qualify. You start training. A lot of it's dry firing, which means that there are no bullets inside the gun. You're just pulling the trigger and you're watching your sights. And you're making sure sight picture, sight alignment, all that stuff is correct. From that point, you'll start actually shooting. Again, it's all firearm fundamental, trigger squeeze, and the instructors will look at how you're shooting, where you're shooting, and determine from that point on how you're functioning that firearm. Each jurisdiction between states and everything else, they all have their own different type of qualification. You have to shoot an 80% or better, but every year you have to requalify. In the beginning, it's more stringent than later on.
So prior to enlisting and becoming a police officer, how much gun interaction did you have?
I grew up with guns for the most part, shooting them as a kid and everything else, going to gun range with my dad. So I had an idea, but I've also gone to the academy with people who had, just like yourself, have never handled a firearm in their life, and they turn out to be pretty good shots. That's what they want you to kind of do, because you're basically just a big ball of clay, and they can mold you how they want you to shoot and into a competent shooter. People get this idea that they're going to get a gun and I'm going to go start shooting because I need to practice, and they develop really, really bad habits. And that's when you get a lot of either the gangster style type shooting or like the TV police where they put the key cup stance where they basically cup the bottom of their hand, and I mean just all this weird stuff.
So what you're seeing on the TV really is not how it's done in real life?
God, not at all. Not at all. Not even the slightest. There are a few, they're getting better, but there are plenty of them that are just way off left field. So yeah, it's not by any means anything close to reality. It's all for show.
Don't they teach you, and I guess any good firearms instructor would teach you, that you should always treat the gun as if it's loaded even if it's not?
Exactly. All my guns are loaded at all times. Some people say it's paranoid, but current climate and everything else, if somebody right now at 9 o'clock and I decided, hey, we're going to go boot in that front door, my gun is 4 rooms away, I'm not going to get to it in time. So I keep the gun with me in a room, where I'm at. And it's usually, put up somewhere obviously my daughter can't grab it. Eventually I'm going to start looking into those lock boxes where you put your handprint on and then it unlocks something quick, fast, that I can have access to it. It's a responsibility thing when it comes to that kind of stuff. Anybody else have any idea or any questions about it?
A lot of gun safety things I already knew instinctively just because my dad taught me early on to respect a firearm. For me, it's never really a problem besides that, although I will say I have much more of a experience handling riflery than I do for sidearms.
Yeah, and there's people, just like there are mechanics that will look at, a car or anything like that and then be like, oh, that's this engine, that's this, and all this other stuff. And then you have the driver who doesn't know a damn thing about the engine, but he can drive the hell out of a car. I'm that way with guns. I know how the guns function, all this stuff, but people will be like, oh, what's your favorite caliber? And what's the ballistic test on this? And, free per second on that. I don't care about that. Like, they go fast, and, with acute onset lead poisoning, people will die. So, that's what I need to know. That and then how to function my weapon. So I know rifles, handguns. I'm practiced with submachine guns, shotguns, less lethal. I've shot all those and trained with all those.
One thing that somebody never told me about whenever you go to the gun range or if you're just shooting out in your backyard is after you fire around, I guess the sulfur that may blow into your eyes or whatever. Because my uncle, he was letting me shoot his pistol at some cans that he lined up at his place, and after I fired the first round, I had to stop because it was just destroying my eyes. I didn't expect that, and I think things
Yeah.
like that can kind of make it dangerous if you're not careful.
Yeah. Eye protection, ear protection.
As far as the sulfur goes, I'm not really sure what you're referring to.
Depending on the ammo you shoot, I've had it happen too where we've, in training and stuff with the SWAT team, there's 14, 15 of us online. We're all, blasting away, running our drills, and that's a lot of carbon in the air and all the residue and stuff, the sulfur and whatever's chemicals are left behind. That stuff will sting. Like it hits my face, and I was like, man, my face is stinging because of all that crap.
Yeah, we
There's
definitely
types
didn't have any
type of
protective
ammo you
gear.
shoot if it's an older or crappy ammo, reloads, things like that. And of course, government agency, they're getting the cheapest ammo they can get for training because they have to buy like 40,000 rounds, and we're blowing through 2,000 to 3,000 rounds in a 5 hour, 8 hour period.
Right. So, do you ever go to any gun shows, or do you ever, I guess, go and just buy guns from places, or I guess, do you
I
just like to?
went. I go to Eastman's gun show. Usually have them around Gwinnett County, in the Atlanta area. I went there once, and this was post. I think it was Newton, Newtown, Connecticut, school shooting. So prices were just inflated exponentially. I mean, it was ridiculous the amount of money people were wanting for bullets and their guns and everything else.
Gotcha.
But that's about the only gun show I've really gone to. I do have a particular gun store I go to that I enjoy that has a nice range and everything else. And I'll buy my stuff from them because I know those people are knowledgeable and they're responsible retailers of firearms. You know, we had a guy in there one day. He was looking for a gun for personal protection. Right, he's moving to somewhere out west, and I think Texas or something like that. And he was like, it's kind of a rough neighborhood. I want something for personal protection, blah, blah, blah. He's looking at an AK pistol, right? 7.62 millimeter by whatever it may be, 45 millimeter, something like that. Either way,
Hold up.
it's a rifle round.
He's looking at an AK pistol for personal protection?
Exactly. That's what he was wanting. Now, this is just a Joe Blow. The guy's he's done his homework in the sense that he has a carry conceal permit, but now he wants an AK pistol. And Ryan, you know exactly what I'm talking about with these pistols. They are not a pistol in the sense of like a Glock, or some people think like 9 millimeters, 40 caliber, Smith & Wessons. This thing is
no offense, man, but the actual qualification to actually have that specific grade used for personal protection,
yeah,
his neighborhood must be surrounded by tigers full of steroids or something.
Exactly. And that's what these people were telling him. They were like, hey, look, that's not what you want. And that's why there are people out there that will sell to anybody anything because, hey, you're dumb enough to drop $2,000 into that thing, because you want to scare away whatever gangbanger that might be in your neighborhood. Okay, no problem. More money for me. But these people were responsible. They're like, that's not what you need. You need this. And they started pointing him towards carry concealed permits, or, carry concealed pistols. Bodyguards, the Glock 42.
I mean, dude, my friend, hell, even a 1911 with a laser grip is a better buy to get an AK pistol as far as what you're actually using it for the actual intent.
Exactly. And that's what I told him too. I carry a Glock 27 with me everywhere I go, off duty. On duty, I've got 38 special backup, and then I've got my Smith & Wesson M&P.
Now, have you ever been rejected from entering a facility? Because my friend, his cousin, I think is a security guard or undercover cop or something, and we were going to the World of Coke, and they wouldn't let him in, even though that he showed all the proper credentials and things.
I've never been denied entry. I went to the Georgia Aquarium, and they wanted me. I was like, yeah, I'm armed. And I showed them my badge. And they went, oh, okay. And they had me secure my weapon in their lockboxes over there. And that's the only time I've been denied. Not say denied entry, but that in the federal building down in Atlanta. The federal courthouse.
Then again, it's also a rarity to get inside those in the first place regarding...
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I was like, all right, no problem. There's private property, and that's kind of with the gun laws, and people are having a hard time grasping and with this whole climate of these open carriers and the idiots. that will walk around with like an MP5 or an AK or an AR-15 on their, slung not on their shoulder but like on the front of the body, and then wonder why the cops show up. And then, well, I don't say wonder what they were planning on the cops showing up so we can film them, talking to them and everything else, and that whole interaction. And hoping that basically it goes bad so they can put it on the internet saying, oh, cops are fascists and they want to take your guns, and this is America, and Second Amendment rights, and basically go fuck yourself. And
Yeah.
so, like I said,
So,
they
as far as whenever you buy a
it.
gun, what's the typical process? Because of all the videos I was watching today, I saw some other ones as well where they were talking about like a universal background check. So, does that mean it spans across continents? Like they want some massive database of everybody that's bought a gun on any continent?
Basically, not so much any content, and I'm not too familiar with because there's so many different bills regarding these universal background checks. Um, they they call it that, but what they want is a database of all registered firearm or all firearm owners. So they have to register. So I have an AR-15 right here. I built it myself. I purchased the upper receiver from Bravo Company Manufacturing, great company. That was the barrel, the handguard, the bolt carrier group. The lower receiver I bought stripped from that particular gun store I mentioned earlier. Lower parts kit, the trigger, assembly, buffer tube, hand stock or butt stock, grip, everything, and I pieced it all together myself. What I had to do for that was the serial numbers. I registered them with the ATF, saying that I put my name, Jimmy Choi, all my information down. These are the serial numbers. They ran it. And they go, okay, are you a convicted felon? No. And I'm like, okay, there you go. Have a nice day. And you move on. With these registered universal background checks, was something they want, and this is the concern people have of it, is that it is a database that the government has on file of saying, Mr. Ryan, he's got X, Y, and Z firearms. And then 5 years later, 10 years later, whatever it may be, a year later, they go, oh, well, like that ammo ban crap they were trying to push earlier, about a month ago. Or even the AR-15s. Every time somebody gets shot with an AR-15, we need to ban AR-15s. So now they're going to go, okay, Mr. Jimmy and Mr. Ryan, those rifles you guys have, give them up because we're banning them, and we know you have them. And that's the concern people have, saying if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile type concept. And I understand.
Okay, no offense, but to me, that's a very skewed statistic, though, for me. Because, hell, more people die in car crashes than by gunfire per year.
Oh, yeah. And actually, I pulled up some of the statistics here, or numbers. I was trying to find 2014 for both, but for whatever reason, the FBI would only give me the 2011 stats.
Of course they did.
Yeah. So, 2011, 8,583 people were killed by firearms. That includes shotguns, rifles, handguns, and for all types. That is gang on gang, that is burglary, robbery, rapes, arsons, I mean, you name it. Whatever crime took place where somebody was killed by a firearm, that was 8,583 people.
Hey, well, hold up a sec. 8,583 people. That's your number overall, correct?
Yeah, that is a total number of people killed by firearms, and that is from everything from felonies to, like, I'm assuming justified shootings, because they don't call justified shooting, they say other not specified.
Okay, well, based on that number, apparently 136.2 people die per day due to gunfire.
Give or take. 32 people were killed by rifles. Okay.
Wait, 32 overall were killed by rifles?
Yes. Total felony people out of 8,583 people, 32. Now you're looking at vehicles. There were 32,719 people died in traffic accidents in 2013. And that was down from 2011, dropping by 2.1%. So, like I said,
Hold on one sec. Can you please give me the number again?
32,719.
Just to clarify, to put a ratio to gunfire versus actual car deaths per year, guns are literally 27% in comparison to car deaths.
Yeah. And traffic accidents are down 25% from 2004. Or traffic fatalities are down 25% since 2004. So, and this is the issue mainly with this whole gun control aspect of it, is that they will take this and they'll say, well, not one more, and then these really emotionally charged catchphrases, words, and they say, well, 8,000, or in total, 12,664 people were killed in 2011. They were, guns, blunt objects, beat to death, poisoned. I mean, you name it. All these, any way you can kill somebody, that's what the FBI tracks. Almost 13,000 people died in a year because of that. And again, that is gang versus gang, which in this case we're looking at, let me find the number here, 476 juveniles and gangs were killed by gunfire, and 143 gangland killings total by firearms.
So overall, close to about 550 or 575 out of 8,853, correct?
Give or take, yes. I think that number is actually a lot higher, but it all depends on how many jurisdictions are actually reporting and how the FBI gets their things. And, if small agencies aren't reporting, what's going on in their jurisdiction, these numbers, take them with a grain of salt.
I would have to agree with that as well. I mean, personally, I don't live in the northern states. I live here in the south, in Birmingham, Alabama, which is constantly featured on everybody's favorite show, The First 48 Hours. And let me tell you, there's a lot to be seen on Birmingham News nightly regarding murders or regarding attacks that involve either guns or knives.
Birmingham's
or
just really spotty. It depends on
nature.
what part you live in, because, you can drive 5 minutes down the road and be in a place you really don't need to be in.
Where I work, it's the same deal. I'll go a few blocks down, and I'm looking at $600,000 homes. I step, a few blocks the other direction, and it's, government housing, and then it's friggin' just slums.
It's true. That's how it works. I was using a comparison, though, due to my city statistics as a whole as far as violence goes compared to other cities or not, though. Nobody else here lives in a truly violent city besides me regarding Birmingham. Birmingham is consistently listed on the top 10 reports for violence out of the entire country, especially for murder rates as well.
Well, Phil lives in Delaware, so maybe he can shed some light on the violence where he lives.
Well, I haven't really been paying attention to the violence, but I've heard that the violence in near my hometown in Wilmington, Delaware, has been going up and up and up over the last few years. So, I'm from the suburbs, so there are a lot of things that I've never been experienced, witness to. So I don't necessarily know, but I do. At the moment, I live in Queens, New York, which I live in a nicer area, but like you said, literally I could walk 2 blocks over and I'm in the hood, and there's probably people walking around who have guns on them. So I don't know.
There
So
are tons of people.
Also, not to bad talk, but you're also in the 5 boroughs as well.
Yeah. So I have a bad knack of walking around in the middle of the night, and I've put myself in a few situations, but gun control, it's very, I don't know. I can see what you're saying. Since I lived in the South 8 years, I love it. Before I moved there, I had one view on guns, and now I have a different view. I used to own a pistol, now I own a rifle, which I do believe that people should be able to have their guns, but I don't own an AR-15, I don't own an assault rifle per se. I don't own one of those. It's not because I could say it's not because I want one. It would be cool to have one. I'm not going to say that it wouldn't, because who doesn't want a big gun like that? But I do see how some people view assault rifles. A lot of these crazy people getting their hands on these high caliber guns with a lot of rounds that can go through them. I personally feel that I'm not saying everybody shouldn't have them, but a lot of people shouldn't have them, and it shouldn't be as easy for some people to get them as it is. Because you can say background checks. People can lie about who they are, and they can get because if somebody wants to get a gun, you can see it in different countries where they don't have guns. If you want a gun, you're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there should be no, I'm not saying take everybody's guns. No, because I personally think that if you're in an area where you know that people have guns, like Alabama, I know people won't rob other people's house because people have walked into people's house and they've heard shotguns ring, and if I hear somebody click the shotgun, I'm gonna run away. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm like Superman and gonna run away.
Yeah.
I know everybody has guns.
That
So
racking
like,
sound will change your life.
Right.
yes, it will, because
Well,
like I've heard like knowing that people like I've heard it and like just like thought to myself like, oh, I really hope they don't have like a round in there, but like I don't know, like I've been in violent cities and like like people feel safer with guns when like they really don't know like everything that goes into like the responsibility of owning a gun, and I think that there should be a more of like a education on like what it is to own a gun, and like a little bit more of like, hey, we need to regulate who can have a gun, because like Billy Bob that lives in the middle of the woods shouldn't have like a whole arsenal of guns and have like 350 cals and like on his car or something like that. Like I don't think that. I think like gun because like they're like I have
here's the thing about all that stuff is that there's practical
yeah.
and then there's excessive, right? Okay, if and people talk about these AR-15s, right? They're demonizing, them, and all they're high caliber and they've got 30 rounds in the magazines and or more, and you can kill so many people with these things. I'll tell you what, if I had to take a choice between getting popped with an AR-15 and getting popped with some dude's hunting rifle, I would take that AR-15 any day of the week. That is a small round. It moves extremely fast, so it's going to, depending on your distance, will zip right through you. Yeah, you may die because it's probably going to hit our arteries and everything else. Bodywork designed to, sustain high velocity, hunk of metal flying at you. So, but nobody's talking about the damage of hunting rifles. Why? Because nobody goes out and it's not in the media and it's not in everything else that, some idiot kid thinks, oh, he's going to go out with a, blaze of glory and, I need to get me an AR because that is the most prevalent rifle of the day. And it's just the way it is. I mean, there aren't many hunters. And there's a lot of people hunting, but they hunt with ARs now. They have their hunting rifles, bolt action, of course, stuff like that. But you see what I'm getting at right here? It's if you're going to pick two weapons, would do a mass shooting with, you're going to pick the AR-15, you're going to pick the bolt action. So I pick the AR.
Well, it kind of depends really on the area, though, to be honest, too. Because, for example,
rural areas, you're going to have a lot of bolt actions. I mean, in my area, there's a lot of hunting rifles and everything else. But
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying in general of like maybe where it's being committed to. For example, the shooting that happened at Kent State decades ago.
Yeah,
a guy was in a clock tower with a bolt action rifle. He didn't have a AK or an AR style rifle.
Yeah, not an out of function back before ARs were really prevalent in American society.
But there are ways to get guns like them, though.
Oh yeah, and like I said, it doesn't matter what type of weapon is being used illicitly. I can go around China right after these most recent school shootings at either Newtown or Virginia Tech, one of the more recent ones. Dude went to China, or a guy in China rather, went to a school with a knife, a butcher knife, stabbed 23 kids, or 20 plus kids with a freaking knife. They had terrorist attacks in China where people were freaking getting hacked to death with machetes. I mean, it doesn't matter what type of weapons. You can sit there. England, prime example. They had this huge gun control push back in the day. It's extremely hard to get guns. Most people don't have guns. Maybe rural people have like a little 420 shotgun or small rifle, something like that, but nothing like an AR-15. And they're like almost antiques. Yeah, they might have a little pistol, things like that. So the gangs over there now have knives. Officers are getting shanked. People are getting shanked left and right. So now they're trying to ban knives. You don't need a knife. Turn your knives in.
Yeah, it's not going to happen at all.
Okay, they're going to. So we'll say 10 years now, they're going to get rid of knives, right? Won't have any more knife problem. Now people are going to be bashing each other's heads in with brass knuckles, baseball bats. I mean, it does not matter. When you look at it, it's not the tool that's being used. And yes, like Philip, was it?
Yes.
I do agree with you in aspects of it, in what you're saying, that yes, we need to have more mental health facilities, more mental health, professionals that can help these people, like that kid, again, with the freaking Sandy Hook shooting. Mom and dad are like, oh, no, whatever it may have been in their family, that this kid was not getting the help that he needed. So he went out and did this, atrocity. That's a failure of parenting, and that's a failure of our mental health system in the country. that's not to say, with these idiots that come around and drink and drive, and kill a family or kill up somebody, the driver, or whatever else, to sit there and go, well, man, they were going over 60. That means you should be able to do over 55 miles an hour. Nobody needs to do 55 miles an hour. I'm like, that's not what this country's based on, to sit there and go, well, for your safety or whatever else. It's personal responsibility. My car can do 100 plus. Doesn't mean I do 100 plus. Same thing with these rifles. And a vast majority, and I'm going to say, damn near over 80% of people never, ever, ever use their weapons, even point their weapons at anybody in their entire life. I know police officers who've gone 20-something years and never pointed their gun at somebody.
That still amazes me that you can be on the force for that long and never be in a situation where you're forced to draw your weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to point my gun plenty of people, and almost shot a few of them. Luckily, I didn't have to. But that's not really kind of what we're talking about tonight. But like I said, it's gun control basically boils down to, and I don't what they call citizen control, and I think that's a very slippery slope, kind of what Ryan was alluding to earlier. You start with something small, something innocent sounding, like, okay, well, we're going to get rid of these 30-round magazines. Nobody needs a 30-round magazine. Well, I'll tell you what, dude. You give me two 15-round magazines, I can load them pretty damn fast. I can train them out pretty freaking quick. So then where do we go? Oh, we need 7 rounds. Oh, we need 3 rounds. Oh, we need 1 round. Nobody needs more than 1 round. I mean, you shoot somebody once, and they should get the idea that you're not to mess with. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just all this stuff, and it slowly starts eating away. And it slowly starts eating away more and more at, your Second Amendment rights of keeping and bearing arms.
I just want to clarify one thing real quickly. I mean, because as far as what you're alluding to, it's a lot like what happened decades ago in the early 1900s when they brought about the issues of prohibition. They banned liquor, alcohol, as far as a societal change or evolution, when in fact all it did was encourage a large growth of crime to skyrocket due to these illegal now products that are being brought in either through Canada or shipping or even being bootlegged or whatnot. The drug war too, it's the same thing.
The drug war.
The problem though is that it will never be the issue, the products themselves to be the problem. Mm-hmm. It's always the people. A prime example of this is bootlegging back in the 1920s and such. If somebody wants liquor bad enough, by God, they're going to get it somewhere illegally if they really want it. The same goes for violence, too. Yeah. There are people who are just inherently violent people who have little self-control over violent impulses. And what you were alluding to earlier regarding the mental health system being in shambles, I wholeheartedly agree. There are a number of people in this country who are truly mentally damaged, but we don't have the resources or the sites to actually have true evaluations, much less have them housed.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a real shame regarding the current state of our country. We have so many problems that are in-house in this country, but yet we are so outside of it in other matters that we're not even handling our own issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. When it comes to that kind of mental health and all that stuff, a lot of these guys end up in jail. And I worked in the jail for just about 9 years, and I've seen everybody from the punk kid who screwed up and he had a dime bag on him, through guys going away for life for multiple murders. I've had to deal with everybody in between, and some of those people are, freaking insane. Off their damn rocker, insane, and there's no place for them. We have a couple facilities, they're full up. It takes weeks to get them a bed to get seen. They get freaking jammed full of, different types of medication and everything else, and they get prescribed all these different things. They feel great. They come back to jail, and then we let them go, and then they get up the meds and back to being crazy again. So, that's kind of an issue, again, parenting, personal responsibility, and everything else, that it's not sexy. It doesn't sound good for politics, or politicians rather, to start getting on TV and speaking about that crap. Like,
you mean as far as the issues of responsibility itself, actually keeping it a key part?
Yeah, promoting family values, things like that. Strong homes. I'm not sure if you guys grew up. My parents are still married. I grew up both my parents and everything else. In a strict household. I was so busy with martial arts because my dad owned a school that I never had the opportunity to even think about getting in trouble. When I went to school, I came home, I did my homework for 30 minutes, and I was at the Taekwondo school till midnight. Come home, go to sleep, start my next day, all over again, 6 days a week like that. And so I never had the opportunity to get in trouble. I lived in some really crappy neighborhoods, and I think that's pretty much why I had to do that, because my dad knew that if I was allowed to run the streets, then I'd be either one, another statistic, or two, freaking in prison or something like that. I mean, the kids I deal with nowadays, it boils back down to that responsibility. Parents are too busy doing their own thing or whatever else. I'm dealing with 13, 14-year-old kids who are booting indoors, thinking, and getting beaten into gangs by grown-ass men, in their 20s and stuff. And, these kids are 10 to 15 because they're juveniles. So if anything happens to them and they get caught, they're going to get a slap on the wrist and move on. And the parents just don't care. I mean, I walk into these houses and the house is in freaking shambles, but they got a nice TV, they got 20 pairs of Jordans, and life's good.
Yeah.
And, these kids, they're just like, yeah, whatever. How am I supposed to control that kid? I can't control him. He's 10 years old, he don't listen to me. And I'm like, well, maybe if you're a fucking parent, and step
Well,
up.
I think also goes down to the differences as far as parenting goes too, though. Because hell, 10, 15 years ago, man, you could actually whip your kid's ass if he was misbehaving. Nobody would think two things about it.
Yeah.
Whereas now they throw you in jail for even bothering trying to slap your child on the behind, which to me is the most biggest disgrace as far as public and how we are in public or whatnot, though.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, though, that's one thing that I really have a problem with, though, because when I was a kid,
Oh, yeah, I got
trouble, I knew what was awaiting me.
Yeah. No, there was no ifs or buts about that.
Well,
So,
also, too, I think parents are too
my
busy.
dad was going to be at the house waiting to tan my hide.
I think parents are too busy trying to be their kid's friend instead of their parent.
it's easier to do that than it is to be figure. It's socioeconomic. It's basically how they were raised.
That's kind of the point that the guy in the video was making. If all they see are these rappers and people in the media that are carrying guns and all they talk about is murder and being a gangster and there's no other kind of influence, that oftentimes they're going to fall victim to that because that's all that they're exposed to.
When you have that kind of a lifestyle, right, you don't have guidance that you need, know where the hell dad's at, mom's doing what she can, they're away, and when they're away, the kids are out running the streets, and, they can't help that. Then I've had the other aspect where, same kind of deal, but the mom is freaking deadbeat, completely capable of working, completely capable of supporting herself and everything else, but why? And that's why I try to talk to these kids with that kind of stuff, too, to kind of lead them out of that lifestyle.
It doesn't take much to be a positive influence on somebody, but unfortunately there's just so much negativity in those areas and neighborhoods, and it doesn't help that they go to these schools, that the teachers don't want to be there, and the only reason that they're there is because, well, if you're a teacher and you serve in a low-income place, then, your student debt gets wiped out. So they're not there for the sake of the kids. They're only there for their financial well-being, and very few teachers, I feel like, in those areas are actually out for helping the kids, and the few that are, I mean, how are you going to impact hundreds of kids? I mean, you may reach 2%, and 2% is better than none, but, they got to start doing a better job, and I really don't know how it's going to be fixed. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it comes down to how bad you want out of that situation, because you see it all the time on all these different talk shows, guys that grew up in the hood and around gangbangers and that kind of lifestyle, and they became doctors, lawyers, productive members of society. So it wasn't their environment that dictated what they became, it was who they were. But I guess for some people they're just really impressionable, and they see their friend carrying a gun, oh, I need a gun too, and then before they know it, they're robbing people or killing people or doing things that you can't undo.
Exactly, and that's a lot of your violence is coming from. The stupid knockout game, those kind of things. And kind of go back to the gun violence stuff you're talking about, your gang activity and everything else leading, or hey, you know what, I need to get some cash, so I'm going to go rob this person, steal that TV, and go try and sell it. So when you have that kind of lifestyle and that's all you know or whatever, it's real easy to basically stay there. And we have people that never leave my little city. They've lived there all their whole life in the same damn hood, growing up either on welfare, selling dope, maybe some get jobs, but it all kind of boils down to that personal responsibility to the parents and everything else, and even society, that would help with this whole gun violence and issue that we have going on there. But kind of go back to more gun control versus gun violence. You're going to have some freaking psycho shoot up a mall or a school, or you're going to have gang member running down the street and popping off a bunch of rounds at somebody's house and killing kids, trying to kill a rival gang member or whatever. You're going to have somebody stepping on a soapbox and saying, see, that's why we need to ban these guns, because they're killing people. Blah,
Guns
blah.
aren't the problem, though. That's what they fail to realize. It doesn't
Exactly.
matter. What if you gave
But
them
they don't
foam bats? I
care.
mean, if you
Yeah,
could take anything and kill somebody with it.
exactly. But it doesn't matter. They don't give a damn. Nobody, I mean, no politician really gives a shit if freaking Jamal gets shot in the hood. They could care less, but it makes them popular, makes them, so they can push these things. There's not a Democrat in this country that gives a shit about anybody in the streets. They don't. They may say they do, but I can almost damn near guarantee you they don't.
It's an
So,
act.
and it's not just for Democrats, mind you, don't get me wrong here. It's any politician. They're going to say what they need to say, and they're going to push the bills that benefit them. So Democrats, generally speaking, will push gun control. Republicans are
Demand
going
like
to push.
no offense, but that's basic politics. Basic politics is literally defined as the nature of the deal.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to push it, and of course, Fox News, CNN, all these other idiots are going to take these things, and you hear them all the time. It's a 30-round magazine clip, bullets, and it fires 40 rounds per minute, and and they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. I mean, it's like me talking about freaking some NASA rocket. I have no idea what I'm talking about, and trying to sound smart. So they're going to push their agenda, and with little thought or consequences that they're doing. I always tell people this for gun control arguments. 3 houses. House A, Hillary 2016, this, that, and the other, Democrats and all this other crap, blah, blah, probably gun-free. You have House B, that you don't really know, and then House C is like freaking NRA flags everywhere, Marine Corps stickers, all that crap. Posted, if you can see, read this sign, you're within range, type of signs, you're out there kicking people's doors down, trying to steal shit. Which house are you going to freaking choose? And that kind of boils down to that whole gun control thing. If you have people with less means of defending themselves, then more crimes are going to happen. Like Ryan was talking about earlier with prohibition. If you outlaw things, you create a demand for it. That demand will always be there. Now, who supplies it? How well is it regulated will determine, that will, help determine that. Marijuana is illegal, alcohol was illegal, so Capone and all those guys, run-ins and all that stupid shit, created a whole, the Italian Mafia was really big in that time, running alcohol. You've outlawed guns, right? You say, okay, no more AR-15s. It's in our culture, so people are going to have those guns. Now, to classify, hold on here one second. They're talking number of privately owned firearms. The estimated number of firearms, guns, both illicit and illicit, held by civilians in the United States is 270 million to 310 million guns. So you mean to tell me we'll split the difference and we'll call it 160 million people have, guns. You're going to create 160 million new felons by blindly banning a type of firearm because, some people got killed by it because of some freaking psycho, that wasn't caught or helped as he should have been by his parents.
Well, instead of
And,
wasting money on trying to take away people's guns, why not just provide them education so that they can go to a gun range, find somebody that's worthwhile, and educate them? Then they'll be more inclined to make a better choice, because a lot of it's just ignorance. If you educate people, then it's not going to fix the problem 100%, but it will definitely be a better option than trying to just nullify it and get rid of it, because then you're just going to get resistance, and that's when all this kind of stuff that's currently going on happens.
Yeah, and like I said, just like any other aspect and any other hobby or anything in life, you're going to have extremes. You're going to have the extreme people who are freaking retarded and shouldn't be allowed to walk around in shoelaces. Just should be freaking straight Velcro for them. They're going to do dumb shit with guns. They're going to do dumb shit with cars. They're going to do dumb shit with motorcycles. They're going to do dumb shit with anything. You give them a Nerf gun, they're probably going to shoot their eye out. You have the other side. If you even look at the firearm without, making sure it's safe and clear and, all the other crap, they flip out on you. And what are you picking up that gun for? And, most people are moderates. They either want to learn, don't know where to start learning, and these kind of programs, and the gun range I go to, there's an instructor there, a firearms instructor for the police department. He goes in and teaches people firearm safety, firearm laws, and again, all boiling back down to personal responsibility. It's up to people to go, hey, you know what? I want a firearm, the defense of my family, defense of myself. Less likely to have accidents in their household where kids are killing their brothers and sisters, like that other tragedy that happened a while back. They're not going to grab a freaking rifle and start shooting blindly through walls and then hitting, the freaking neighbor's dog across the street.
So I guess if you had to leave some closing remarks for people, what would you recommend, or I guess what would you have to say?
I would say gun control is a misnomer. It sounds great. It's one of those feel-good laws. but it's wildly ineffective. Um, they need to focus more on, and again, it's not sexy. It almost near impossible to get it done, but focus more on instilling proper values in families. And I'm not saying hardcore Christian conservative or whatever else, but just understanding that kids need guidance in their life with teachers, family, everything else. Second, or more third, when it comes to gun ownership, there needs to be more awareness and pressure, or not pressure, but more guidance for people to go, okay, hey, look, this is where I can go to learn how to carry a gun. What kind of gun should I be carrying? And not just the sexy magazines or the freaking idiot TV shows. People see these big guns and think, oh, I need to get me a 45 or whatever else, when they're really looking for like a 380. If you don't know caliber sizes, that's like between a penny and like a quarter. Basically, just be more responsible in their gun ownership, understanding the tool they have. It's like handing somebody a freaking sword back in the day and saying, all right, have fun, see you. The guy's going to cut himself or freaking somebody else without knowing what they have. And, they'll do the same crap with these guns.
Ryan, your thoughts?
If you're comparing two very similar societies, for example, let's compare the USA and Canada. We're bordering nations over each other, though. We have a very similar set of cultural and societal customs that are highly identical in most ways. I mean, sure, there are some variances. That's just to be expected, though. Canada pretty much banned firearms completely, and their crime rate is atrocious also because of this. Because now
Australia did the same thing.
Because now, civilians can't even defend themselves now. So you have all these criminals getting firearms from sketchy manufacturer plants or wherever they would get them from. I don't care. The fact of the matter is that they can't even protect themselves now, because now criminals only have guns and they can't even defend themselves. Actual gun control does not exist.
You can't control what people are going to get. Now, short of burning every blueprint, shutting down every factory, rounding up every freaking gun ever made, and then saying, oh, we're going back, swords, bows and arrows and everything else, that's the only way you're going to get rid of guns.
Seriously, unless you have like a USA to Cuba embargo in place or something, people are going to find it, and they're going to get it in if they really want it badly enough.
They're going to make them zip guns. I mean, hell, they end up in prison all the time in all these other secured locations.
And hell, even then, even if they ban guns or whatnot, though, guess what they're going to use next? They're going to use hammers. They're going to use nail guns.
Yeah.
They're going to use wrenches, baseball bats.
Well, another issue with it, really, kind of more closing argument as well, is that people are looking for police to protect. And the sad reality is, as much as I would love to be there for everybody, that's a victim of a crime, I can't. 1.1 million people are policing 300 plus million. My city, we're a city of about, I think it's roughly 20,000 if I remember my numbers correctly. My shift, there are 4 officers for 20,000 people. I cannot be there for everybody when they get victimized. I can do as much as I can. I'm proactive as I possibly can be. And I work nights, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I see people walking around at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, what you doing? What you going? And this doesn't mean I'm stopping everybody and patting them down. And also, it might be, hey, I'll go in the store right over here. Oh, okay, cool. And see where they're at. The fact of the matter is that I cannot be there to protect people. People need to protect themselves. And I'm sorry, but as much as we like to say, women and men are equal, and there are men who aren't equal to other men. There are people out there that will break me in half if I fought them hand to hand. It's just the way it is. By this gun control saying, carte blanche, that you cannot have this firearm because we don't think you should be able to. Screw the whole because America, I should be able to have it. The fact of it is that who are you to determine how I protect my family? You know what I mean? I'm not saying I need a damn nuclear bomb or whatever else, but obviously within reason. 100 years from now, when we're freaking shooting laser guns, they're going to be like, well, how come you can shoot 200 lasers per second or some dumb shit? You know what I mean? Kind of going on with more of a gun control advocate saying that, oh, well, the founding fathers never had this kind of weaponry in mind. Well, I guarantee you, in 1776, if they had AR-15s, they'd freaking want AR-15s. I don't buy that crap, because if you use that same argument, then you're going to use the same argument on the First Amendment, that I can't say the president's an idiot on my Facebook page because the founding fathers never envisioned Facebook. Again, that's why I don't believe in gun control. I believe in bad people not having guns, and I believe in insane people not having guns. But that is a whole different issue other than what your media and your politicians will say is actual gun control.
So that's our show. Hopefully you found us entertaining. If not, send us an email and let us know. Go to www.roundtablephilosophy.com/contact. Fill out the form and give us your feedback. If you'd like, you can follow us on our Facebook page. Go to facebook.com/roundtablephilosophy. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/RTPhilosophy. Other than that, just check out our site on a weekly basis for new and entertaining podcasts. Thanks so much.